All right. How is everybody doing on a Sunday night? 9:30 here in the cold 585, where we're covering sports for the 585, the 716, and the 315, and the 607, and everybody who has connections to those wonderful area codes. I am Tim Samsell, Senior Fellow at the Western New York Pride and Loyalty Administration at WNYPLA.com. Glad to be with you for another weekly meeting video cast. Follow me at Tim the Commish on Twitter, like our page here on Facebook. Hit the like and subscribe button for our YouTube channel. And check out WNYPLA.com for more. We have constantly updating Bills and Sabres headlines for you there. So you know what we're going to be talking about mostly tonight. The Bills 32-29 thrilling winners in the cold and eventual snow in Orchard Park last night over the pesky, feisty Miami Dolphins. The Bills clinched a playoff spot. With that, they are now 11-3. They are still hanging on to that number one seed overall. And there's a lot to get into this game with you. And I mean a ton. There's a literal ton of things to do with you here. And we are going to do it. But where I want to start is, some things that I've been seeing, all over social media and the radio and hearing and all that stuff. And I put this out there earlier today. Got some things here at the Western New York Pride and Loyalty Administration that we have to address. Okay, first things first. The Fire Ken Dorsey crowd. Why? Why do you exist? What is your issue? What is it that makes you think that this guy is the problem? They scored 32 last night. They've won 11 games this season. The 3 games they've lost are by 8 points. By the way, and I just saw this before going live, Greg Thompson over at Cover One posted this on one of his personal pages, and he has a string of mini helmets that he puts on for every Bills win. And you look at it and you realize that the Bills have played 12 different teams this year. And while they are technically 11-3, there's only one team on the schedule that they have not beaten. They have beaten every team on their schedule except for the Minnesota Vikings. And the WNYPLA has a ruling on their greatest comeback ever. We will get into that with you shortly. But what is it about Dorsey that makes you think you're going to do better than him? Josh isn't calling his own plays. This is not 1989, and we're not running the K gun here, okay? Josh does a lot of things on his own, but he is not calling his own plays. I don't think any quarterback in the NFL is. And Chris is right. Great weekend for Bills Mafia. Great weekend for all of the loyal and local Western New York sports fans. History was made last night. WNYPLA history for the first time in our 4 years of existence. The Bills, Sabres, and Syracuse basketball all won on the same day. Couple that with all 5 PSE Pagula owned sports franchises won on the same day. That's never happened. The Bills won. The Sabres won. The Sabres looked great, came back twice to beat Arizona 4-2. Tage Thompson is just, my God, he's on another level. And Jeff Skinner has completely rebounded from the trials and tribulations of Ralph Kruger. But the Bills won. The Sabres won. The Amerks won. They actually swept Charlotte down in Charlotte, which never happens. And Subban got a shutout Saturday in Charlotte. On top of that, the Pagulas also own both the Bandits and the Nighthawks, and they both won as well. So you talk about a banner day. It was a banner day. Getting back to what I want to opine about here, because that's really what it is. The snowballs. The snowballs. Let's talk about the snowballs. So, clearly they got out of hand. They got out of hand. Now, I will say this. As we all know, and you can read our guidelines at wnypla.com, I am all for a hostile environment. In fact, later down on my list here, I talk about the way too many incorrect Dolphin fans in our stadium. Way too many of them. They seem to be dressed correctly. They were not as uncomfortable in the weather as Tua was, which means their parents raised them wrong. Clearly. I mean, we know that. There's a clear lack of proper pride and loyalty. And I would not have let him into the stadium, personally. I just, nope. You're carrying something illegal. What's that? That Dolphin jersey. Get out of here. I would have kicked them all out. All of them. Any bar they were at, near the stadium, Big Tree, Kettles, O'Neill's, charge them double. You know. To me, Dolphin fan is Rochester, New York's most annoying sports fan. That is the only fan that really, really hates the Bills. Even Cowboy fan wants the Bills to win here in Rochester. We're not counting Patriot fan. There's clearly two types of Patriot fans. The ones who want to be like the Miami fans, where they're just tools and mean-spirited. And then the ones who grew up in New England and migrated here for whatever reason, and they took their team with them. We don't have that many people from the greater Miami area who migrated up here. There's a couple, but they're like, you could probably count them on one hand. Okay? So, while I'm all for the hostile environment, after the first touchdown, let it go, man. Like, and I know, the fans were, they tailgated to survive the cold, get ready for the game, obviously. You then throw in, the flack that they got for complaining about the heat in Miami, and pelting the Dolphins sideline is a bridge too far. And the thing that I worried about, more so, like I was worried about the penalty. Like, that was going to bother me. But what really, really worried me, more than anything, was you got a kid, whether he's wearing a Bills jersey or an incorrect Dolphins jersey, there's a kid. There's an older person, man or woman, somebody with a health ailment, and you're drunk in the 300s or on the 28th row of the 100s, and you magically think you can throw like Josh Allen, and you end up pelting that kid in the back of the head with a snowball that may have had some ice on it. It's a legitimate safety issue. And Bills Mafia, we are better than that. We are better than that. I have said it from the word go. I am always for making sure the stadium and the arena is a hostile environment. You don't want those fans or that team comfortable in our stadium. You want them miserable. But you don't want those fans hurt. You don't want our fans hurt. And throwing snowballs from up high and trying to aim them at the field or aim them at a player, it's too risky and dangerous to the other people there. And I did not read anything about anybody getting hurt, but hopefully nobody gets hurt. Todd, maybe they thought they were in Alabama. Maybe. Chris M. Tua found out Buffalo snow is different than Alabama snow. Yes, and Chris M. continues, they need to be better than that with the snow throwing. They don't live in Cleveland. Yeah, I was hoping for Sean to get on the mic and pull the Sam Weish. Sean's more of an introverted guy. It's not his style, but Sean talks, we listen. I think that would have been a major problem there. Or actually, I would have fixed the major problem, rather, had Sean gotten on the mic, had McDermott gotten on the mic and told everybody to quit with the snowballs. Yes, coach! Sir, yes, sir! They would have stopped right away. For sure. We'll talk about this. So we know the Bills won the game. We know that the legend of Josh Allen is just growing. We know... And Nick, you were there. Yeah, it was too much. It was too much. I agree, and you were there. Hopefully you didn't get hit in the back of the head. But for people in the media who talk about Allen and this team, and I really was thinking about this last night, and Alan Cowherd, who I'm not a fan of, brought this up, and he tweeted it, and I'm paraphrasing, but something along the lines of the Bills' strategy is to clearly grab on to Josh Allen's Superman cape and go wherever he can take them. Risky, but it does seem to work. Let's get this out of the way. That is the way football has been played forever. Forever. That is the game of football. At any level. When they're 10, it's usually the running back. All right? When they're in high school, it's usually a quarterback or running back. Division I, major college football, and the NFL, it's the quarterback. And I really started thinking about this, and I think the difference is in the way that Allen does it. And as we've talked about ad nauseum on this show, Allen is the freakiest of freaks to ever play the quarterback position. He is not the greatest of all time, but, and people have told me this, the Madden build for a quarterback right now is Josh Allen. And you look back at quarterbacks in history, every franchise quarterback has put their team on his shoulders and have carried them to victory, going all the way back to Johnny Unitas. You watch the brilliant 2-minute drill from the greatest game ever played, the 1958 NFL Championship at Yankee Stadium against the Giants, and that's all Johnny Unitas willing his team to a tie and then into overtime to win the title. But he did it all with his arm. Kelly was 95% arm and 5% grit. Marino, 100% arm. Elway, 80% arm, 20% running. Favre, 98% arm, 2% tobacco. I mean, Peyton Manning was 100% arm. Tom Brady was 75% arm, 25% officials. Okay? I mean, you get the point. All these guys were armed. Michael Vick was all feet. He was all legs. Randall Cunningham in Philly was all legs. And then he got to Minnesota and he had Randy Moss to throw it to. Allen is the one guy. Mahomes is doing it with about 65% arm and 35% of his legs. Allen is the one guy who can 50-50 it both ways. He is the one, he is the first, and he is the only. There is no other quarterback with an arm like his pulling off that 44-yard run to set up the game-tying touchdown. Nobody. Mahomes would probably get 20 to 25. Mahomes is a great athlete. Phenomenal athlete. He's worth every accolade and everything. But when we're talking about why they keep calling Allen Superman and why, it's only a 500 team without Josh Allen. The Chiefs would only be a 500 team without Patrick Mahomes. Think of the Colts without Peyton Manning back in the day. Then think of the Colts without Andrew Luck. Think of all these teams look at the Patriots without Tom Brady. The then Tom Brady, not the current Tom Brady. Allen is just different. He's not human. There's just no other way to say it. The guy is just straight up not human. And these takes of, they're only a 500 team if they were without Allen, or they're making Allen do it all. They're inept. They're just not deep enough. The takes, that is. Chris V says cue the 49ers. That's a good point. That, yes, they've been winning with Brock Purdy. They've got a great defense, and they've got good weapons around them and a good running game. But I think it's fair to say that the 49ers right now would be more the exception to the rule. And the exception has done it. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl with Baltimore. Rex Grossman was the quarterback of the Bears to the Super Bowl. All right? It does happen. Brad Johnson has won a Super Bowl. But it is, you're shooting for the exceptions and not the rule. The rule is the franchise guy puts you on his back and takes you to glory. Montana did it. Young did it. Kelly did it. Marino did it. Roethlisberger did it. They all did it. Jim says, love Allen, but he's human and makes crucial mistakes. He hasn't made a crucial mistake in 5 games, Jim. He has not made a crucial mistake in 5 games. Chris V says yes, but not for 17 weeks plus the playoffs. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. You've got way more franchise quarterbacks that have won a Super Bowl and have been to a Super Bowl versus non-franchise quarterbacks that have won and have been to Super Bowls. The fumble, though, Jim, was not a mistake. The fumble was a great play. You got to give Phillips credit on that. Todd says they're talking heads and they don't know what they're talking about 90% of the time, and that's probably being generous. Todd, is that how you feel about me, man? Is that how you feel about me? But Jim, Bills are fortunate last night, just like the Dolphins were fortunate in week 3. You go back to week 3, and the Bills did everything except score more points. And you look at last night, and the Dolphins did almost everything except stop the Bills. Back in week 3, they were able to prevent the Bills from scoring. They couldn't prevent the Bills from scoring last night. The Bills scored 32 points, all of them offensive. No turnover that was taken to the house. No kicker punt return. No safety. It was all offense last night for 32 points. Mind you, I get it. Not a great third quarter at all. Terrible third quarter. And Jim, I agree. Feed Knox. And 6 catches last night for over 70 yards. I think N. Dorsey looks at Dawson Knox as, I want to throw the ball to him, but if I need him to block, then he's going to block. And we've seen that in games this season where Knox doesn't get the ball because Knox doesn't go out for passes. And it's clear because the film or the in-game adjustments, at least the Dorsey, dictate that he has to stay in and block. But I agree. Feed Dawson Knox. I'm a big believer in the tight end. I play NCAA 2K14 for my or NCAA 14 for my Xbox 360, and I basically run tight end U. Like, my tight end is my leading receiver every year, and yes, I play on Heisman. All right, but yeah, no, the fumble, yes, 11 interceptions, 7 or 8 of them off the top of my head are Allen's fault. He does make some mistakes. Everybody does. But, my God, he's just built different. He's just built completely differently. There's no other way to say it than that. All right? Yeah, no, I agree, Todd. I did think they were trying to get Knox involved compared to previous weeks. And I think that was even without Mitch Morse. And now that I've had 24 hours, I can now say this nicer. But at this point, Mitch Morse, I think, needs to retire. What are we looking at here? At least the second, if not third, time he has left the game due to a head injury just this season. He has become an injury liability issue, and we know how McDermott feels about that. Your best ability is your availability. And I think for Mitch's safety and well-being, I think he should hang it up. He has a very young family. His wife tweets pictures of the kids, and they're young, they're little, they're young. And so, might be a good idea to stay out of it for now on, unfortunately. Todd also says, and the offense did well, even though Diggs was held in check for the most part. Yeah. I mean, he still had, 6 catches and 70 yards? I mean, he hasn't had his explosive plays since Detroit. But when they've needed him, they've went to him. And, again, he's been brilliant. I don't really have any concerns about Stephon Diggs in any way, shape, or form, at least not right now. And I don't think there's any reason to have that. But anyway, follow me on Twitter at Tim the Commish. Like our page on Facebook. Check out our YouTube channel. Hit the like and subscribe button. Check out WNYPLA.com for more. Shop Amazon through WNYPLA.com. That's a great way to support us. Chris V says he actually saw him wearing his mouth guard for a few plays. Yeah, it's kind of an anomaly. Kind of like seeing the Jets wear green at home. They have not done that in a while. So Todd wants to know about Cole Beasley being back in the fold. Hey, 1 target, 1 catch, and the crowd loved it. And I think as long as he keeps his political thoughts to himself and keeps it about football, I think it's great. I think it's great. I also think that you got to give Brandon Beane all the credit in the world for this. So last year, Beasley cost the team $7.5 million on the cap. He got paid $5.5 million. His cap number was $7.5 million. His dead cap number this year is $1.5 million. Okay? They signed him to the practice squad, which means when he or John Brown get called up from the practice squad, they get paid the league veteran minimum. The league veteran minimum is $900,000. Prorate that. He's getting Beasley and or Brown for $53,000 a game. And here's the clever thing about it too. During the regular season, you have your 53-man roster, and then you are allowed to bring up 2 guys from the practice squad that don't count against your 53. However, once you've done that for a player 3 times, if you want to do that again, you now have to make a roster spot on the 53 for him. Brown has been used twice. Beasley has been used once. There are 3 games to go in the regular season, and get this, when the playoffs start, that number is reset to 0 and you get 3 more cracks at it. So it's a brilliant move by Brandon Beane, and Beasley appears to be happy to be back. I don't think he regrets a single thing that he has said, but I think he is happy to be back and happy to be accepted. And as long as he can make plays, I'm fine with it. Jim with the update. G-Man up 14-3 currently. And Todd with another great point. And here's the other thing. Imagine what they're paying Beasley compared to what OBJ was asking for. And there's no way he's healthy. That's right. It hasn't even been a year yet. I will say this too. Clearly, the Bills just operate differently. You got to give head coach Mike McDaniel over at Miami some credit. He had his team ready to go. But wearing the shirt that said, "I wish it were colder," when you're about 5'7" and $160, not a good idea. Hey, you're right, Jim. The Bengals did beat up Tampa Bay in the second half. Basically, they just out-stamina them. Chris V, what's the rule of practice squad, guys? Oh, can't anybody sign players from your practice squad? They sure can, but you have to put them on the 53. You cannot sign. You can't sign anybody as just another practice squad guy. So, like, for instance, just because the Bengals are brought up, Cincinnati can't sign Cole Beasley just to prevent Buffalo from using him without putting him on their 53. They'd have to make a spot for him on the roster. Chris M says that Devin Singletary has done well. Still don't view him as the guy. No, and I don't think they do either. You saw more James Cook and Nyheim Hines in the game last night too, and I think that's by design. Yeah, the Lions are on fire. Big win over the Jets today. And you got to give Dan Campbell and Jared Goff and this island of misfit toys all the credit in the world for what they're doing in Detroit. And I do want them to make the playoffs. I absolutely do. I think it'd be a great story. Allen last night, brilliant. 25 of 40 for 304, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked twice for a loss of 8. His passer rating was 119.2. ESPN's QBR put him at 54.3. Tua. Oh, good question, Todd. Good question. Any update on whether Jacoby Myers made the flight home for New England? Yikes. Yeah, I don't think so. Probably, but he'll be in Belichick's doghouse for the rest of the year. Tua, 17 of 30 for 234 and 2 scores. He was sacked twice for a loss of 17. His passer rating was 104. Even his QBR by ESPN was at 53.9. And what I want to say is this. I have been critical of Bills fans and Bills media that have been too harsh on the Bills after wins. The one thing I want to criticize the Bills for, and it's been pretty obvious, I would say, over the last basically since the bye week. Since the bye week, this defense has become poor tacklers. It is, to my estimation, and just going off memory, this might be the worst tackling team that McDermott has coached here in Western New York. And the running defense, the rush defense, it was the same play with Mostert. Trap. There were several times in that game where Buffalo got sniffed out. In the first half, in the first quarter and a half, they kept trying to tackle Mostert up high. They finally figured out to go low on him, and they had a little bit more success, and they were able to contain him. Mostert, 17 for 136, a long of 67. He averaged 8 yards a carry. Give Miami credit. They ran the ball 25 times for 188 yards. They had the 1 touchdown. Buffalo, on the other hand, 29 times for 150. Singletary, 13 for 42. Cook, 5 for 34. Steph Diggs, officially 1 for -3. Allen, 10 for 77, including the long of 44. But it was a big 44. Could be worse. Could be a Colts fan. Another yikes. Yes, Todd. Jake says that when he tells you he has seen some things in his life, but he's never seen nothing like that Patriots. Like, dude, that is even worse than some of the Billsiest losses in Bills history. And John, thank you for this comment. I'm sure he was. I was not listening to the radio broadcast last night, but John says Sal Capaccio angry at Snowball hits to his head. And I would be too. Those were dangerous. And Sal's out there without a helmet. He's got a headset on, but that's not going to protect him, and he got security down there, medical personnel, equipment personnel, chain gang, NFL league personnel down there, guys without helmets, and they didn't need to be in the firing range of that at all. Let's talk receiving for the Bills. Knox, 6 for 98 in the score. He had 8 targets, including the big long one of 45. Diggs, 5 for 60, the long of 29 targets. Gabe Davis looked good, 4 for 56 with a long of 21. Devin Singletary, 3 for 28 on 4 targets, including a long of 13. McKenzie, 2 catches for 24, including a big catch for 19 on 5 targets. Quentin Morris doesn't get paid by the hour. One target, 1 completion, 1 touchdown. Nyheim Hines, same thing. 1 completion, 1 target, 1 touchdown. Beasley, one target, 9 yards. James Cook, two catches on 3 targets for 5 yards. You look at the team stats in this game. Bills 29 first downs to Miami's 20. First downs from penalties. Miami had 3, Buffalo had 4. Third downs. Buffalo was great in the first half, awful in the third quarter. But 8 of 14 in the game for the Bills on third downs. Miami 5 of 14. Buffalo ran 71 plays to Miami's 57. Total yards, Buffalo 446 to Miami's 405. Red zone was a big deal in this one. Miami 3 trips, only 1 score. Buffalo 5 trips, 4 scores. Penalties. And Dolphin fans were complaining all over Twitter that the refs gave this away. Miami 8 penalties, 51 yards. Buffalo 7 penalties, 51 yards. Buffalo had the 1 turnover. Time of possession was even. Miami at 30:07, Buffalo 29:53. And the reason why it was even, boys and girls, is, and again, going back to the beginning of the show, talking about the Ken Dorsey, people want Ken Dorsey fired. The last 2 drives of the game, but specifically the last drive of the game, was a thing of beauty. Buffalo gets the ball back with 5:56 to go. 5:56. And Miami never sees the ball again. It was a master's class. It was a 400 level college course in clock management and play calling and play execution. It was pro football at its finest, that final 5:56. Good comments in here. Chris B, they will have another snow game. Think the direction from the league will be an automatic 15 yards? Yes. Yes, I do. In fact, I think that announcement will come on before kickoff. Jim says, was Buffalo-Miami preview of a playoff game, maybe the AFC Championship? No, I don't think so. I think the only way that happens, whether Buffalo is the 1 seed or the 2 seed, I think the only way that happens is Miami has to be the 5, and they go to either Tennessee or Jacksonville and could get that win there. Jacksonville's getting good, and you knew Doug Peterson was a good coach. That's a big win for the Jags today. And Tennessee's falling, and Jacksonville's peaking at the right time. Keep your eye on that division. And I say that, I don't think Miami can go into Arrowhead or whatever they renamed Paul Brown Stadium to. I don't see them going into Arrowhead or Cincinnati and beating either of those teams on the road. I do not see it. Whether it's cold or at night, I think even though Kansas City's defense is not as good as Buffalo's, Tua's not holding a candle to Mahomes, and Cincy's defense is pretty good, that offense is fantastic. I don't think Tua's better than Burrow. I think the only way you see a Miami-Buffalo rematch in the playoffs is Miami's got to get that 5 seed and win that wild card game. Jim says the Fish will have confidence moving forward in Orchard Park. Rivalry renewed. Bring it on! If they thought, Todd says, if they thought officiating was bad this game, they should have watched the Colts-Vikings game. I only got to watch overtime. So we will talk about, we haven't even gotten to that yet. Jim, did you see the Bengals beating the Chiefs at Arrowhead last year? No. I watched it, but you know what though? That was the first of an interesting streak. And that is that the Bills in the calendar year of 2022 have lost 4 games. And those 4 games, the next week, that team has gotten beaten and usually blown out. Actually, about 50-50 on the blowout. But KC lost to Cincinnati in the AFC title game. Miami got throttled by the Bengals in the we just hope Tua's career is going to be able to continue game. The Jets had a bye after beating the Bills and still lost to New England in the, well, it wasn't my fault, Zach Wilson game. And then Minnesota, in a thriller, beats the Bills only to get throttled the following week at home to Dallas. Jake says the Bengals game is going to be huge. Certainly could be. Bengals still at 5 losses. That game is not as big of a deal as I feared. The Bengals at 9-5, currently in first in the AFC North, but I think the Bills will win Saturday in Chicago, especially if it's Nathan Peterman. Watch. It's the one great game he'll have. And then I think they'll beat New England here. Yeah, it is assuming that Kansas City will win out, although they've got to be pretty nervous out there in Missouri right now in Kansas because the one-win Texans took them to overtime and outplayed them most of that game. Outplayed a 14.5 point spread, by the way. No. Yeah, no, so, right, Chris, good question here. Could lose the Chiefs home field. No, so Buffalo and KC, both 11-3. Buffalo has clinched a playoff spot. KC has clinched the West for the 7th consecutive year. Cincinnati has the 3 seed, but at 9-5. So the Chiefs would have to lose twice for the Bengals to get into home field position. It could cost the Bills home field to the Chiefs, but it won't. If the Bills were to lose to the Bengals, it would most certainly cost the Bills home field, but it won't cost the Chiefs home field. It is the NFL, and wins count as wins, and I've been preaching that all season long, trying to keep some of the Twitterverse to cool their jets a little bit. No pun intended. But seriously, that though, it's a one-win team with a lame duck at quarterback, and truthfully, we all love Lovie Smith, but it's a lame duck coach. You've got like an interim GM there. That organization's a mess. Going back to the Bills, their perseverance. That roughing the kick punting penalty was huge. And previous years that would have cost the Bills the game. And for them to come back and pull this off the way they did, it just shows how good this team is. Yeah, I still can't get a read on the Eagles, though, Chris. They may be more of that exception to the rule. Is Jalen Hurts the MVP, or is it more so A.J. Brown? He's clearly been the mismatch. From a technical standpoint, Jim, you're right. AC almost losing to Houston means nothing. It means nothing. But I am sure in Kansas City, that was not a game that they woke up Sunday morning in Overland Park, Kansas, in western Missouri and eastern Kansas, going, "You ready for a tough one today?" Nah. May even do a little yard work. And they're biting their fingernails all game. So I am sure that has been the post-game show, and that'll be the talk tomorrow out there in Missouri. So the WNYPLA has reviewed the comeback by the Minnesota Vikings and congratulates the Minnesota Vikings on dethroning our Buffalo Bills from having the greatest comeback in league history. 33-0 at halftime is nothing short of spectacular. That said, you did it in a dome against a 4-win football team with an interim head coach. While you technically pulled it off, it does not hold water to the Bills beating the Oilers with a backup quarterback in a wild card game in January of 1992. It just doesn't. Okay? We at the Western New York Bryan Loyalty Administration recognize the accomplishment by the Vikings, but have an asterisk on it. It was a Colts collapse, and it is whoever in a previous life Matt Ryan pissed off. Because whoever he pissed off in a previous life, they said, "You know what, Matt? We're going to make you good looking. You're going to be a fantastic professional quarterback. You're going to be great. You're even going to win a league MVP. You are going to be a millionaire, a spokesman. You're even going to have a nickname. You're going to be Matty Ice. But you're only going to go to one Super Bowl, and you're going to blow it up by 25, and then you're going to surrender the biggest comeback in NFL history. So take your millions and go screw it." Like, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? Like, who did Matt Ryan piss off to get that, to have that fate? And God, I hope he has a sports psychologist on retainer. That you gotta feel bad for the guy. And now, see, I didn't get to watch much of that game so I didn't really get to see any of the officiating, Todd. And he blames Jeff Saturday. And by the way, Jeff Saturday blows this one and costs the head coach that he replaced, Frank Reich, from keeping the greatest comeback in NFL history. You have two games go to overtime today in the 1 o'clock window. I thought for sure two games were going to go to overtime in the 4 o'clock window. But the Chargers staying alive in the wild card race right now with a big win over Tennessee. Tennessee looks to be in trouble. And then, the brain fart of all brain farts by Jacoby Myers. And the Raiders get a walk-off win for the ages. And for the record, Josh McDaniels is 2-0 as a head coach against Bill Belichick. Remember that, what year was it? 2008? Where he and the Broncos beat Belichick at home. (2-0). So, Chris M, be more specific here. The NFL rules expert actually criticized the officiating crew that was working the Colts-Vikings game in real time, often saying that's not what the league teaches the officials. Catch me up on this. Was it Pereira, and who was he talking about? Chris V, going back to the Bills' victory, he says, I will say this again, a win is a win, but the Miami gap is closer than anyone expected. You have Allen versus Tua. You had a cold, home, primetime game in the snow, in a snowstorm, everything the fans could have asked for, and it's a last-second field goal. Allen is the difference, but wow, Miami is that close. Yeah, and it hurts my feelings, Chris. And I'll tell you why. After 20 years of the division sucking and Brady running roughshod, that's what I wanted. I wanted Josh Allen to have a nice, easy time, and for Bills Mafia to have a nice, easy time in the division and continue to have the Jets and the Dolphins be inept. And clearly, Miami is ahead of the game. And I think the Jets, I think Sale is just a heck of a coach. And I think the Jets are a year ahead. And I said this last week. I think that's he's just because he's younger in coaching than McDermott, he's clearly taking that approach, McDermott's approach, where he's building an incredible defense, and when he has the weapons and the quarterback, then watch out. He's got some weapons, he doesn't have all of them, he doesn't have a quarterback. But the Jets, we knew they were going to be a tough out, we just didn't know they were going to be this tough. Miami, we knew Miami was going to be good. You bring in Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, Gesicki is underutilized. You have a little pipsqueak of a coach, but that came under a great coaching tree. We knew Miami would be tough. But I think Tua is still the issue there for Miami. Had they taken Justin Herbert, this could be a different rivalry. I think as long as it is Allen versus Tua, the Bills will have the edge every time. The edge. And Allen is 8-2 against the Dolphins lifetime. That's it's pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, that's on the way to being Brady-esque against the team in the division. It's on the way. All right? I don't think he's going to play as long as Brady did to get to 35, but wins. But he's still shown some dominance over the Dolphins. I mean, he threw for over 300 yards in the cold. He threw for over 700 yards in 2 games against Miami. So I think Miami is getting closer and peskier, but I still think that as long as Josh Allen is on the field for the Buffalo Bills, they will always have the upper hand in this rivalry. Rivalry renewed, but not that it ever went anywhere. The prestige of the rivalry renewed, but I think Allen, as long as it's JA-17, they're in good shape. Chargers are playing. Chris V says Chargers are playing well. Herbert won't scare me until Sean Payton is their head coach next year. Yeah. That sounds scary. Jake says Sean McVay going to retire and that he is a Rams fan with Payton. John says, love Josh run the ball, but I fear a fumble with each run. I fear them less and less with Josh. I fear them occasionally, but I do fear them less and less. I basically say on every run, no matter who has the ball, don't fumble. You can ask my wife, that's pretty much true. The 2-point conversion was dicey. Josh got it, but just barely. But it was the right play call. And I think this is where, again, you have to give Dorsey some credit, where he's riding with his franchise quarterback. I mean, you hate to say it's the kiss simple of calling plays, but it is. Keep it simple, stupid. I have Josh Allen. You don't. Let's make it simple. And for the most part, it works. Real quick here. Talking about the Sabres, real quick. To get the types of wins that they've been getting recently, big win on Thursday night over the defending Stanley Cup champions in Colorado. And I know McKinnon is out for the next few weeks, but that's still a big win on the road. You come back down 1-0, down 2-1. You get 2 goals from Skinner. A great total team hustle goal from Tage Thompson and a couple of empty netters, and you get a 5-2 victory last night over a bad Coyotes team, but you still get it. They're humming. They are humming. They're humming. The Amerks are in second in the North Division. The Sabres are making strides. Hockey is fun again in Western New York, and I think it's great. Todd says, going back to football, also that Arizona could use a coaching change as well, because they're a mess right now. Sean Payton wants nothing to do with that. They are an even bigger mess because of the time of Kyler Murray's knee injury. They're basically going to be without Kyler Murray for all of next season. Their GM, Steve Keim, has taken a leave of absence due to medical reasons. The question for the Bidwells in Arizona, in the desert, is if Keim steps down and you have to hire a new GM, are you firing Kingsbury? And if you're firing Kingsbury, are you basically eating Murray's contract and trying to draft somebody and rebuild again? Remember, they fired Steve Wilkes after 1 season and cut Josh Rosen. You know, they've done this. It hasn't fully panned out for them. Chris M., Arizona's QBs are dropping like the red shirt security on Star Trek. But Chris V., Cliff is toast. Shame. I think he'll go back to college then. And he'll probably end up Conference USA, Sun Belt, somewhere down south. We know he will not venture like Deion Sanders is doing, going to Colorado. He will not coach somewhere where it snows. He doesn't know what to do with that. So, I don't know, Florida Atlantic hiring? Wow. Chris M. Josh Rosen isn't considered to be a lock on XFL roster. What about a USFL roster? That season's coming back. That's going to be weird. That's got to merge, right? Like, that's got to merge into one league. Chris V says, I never got it with him, talking about Kingsbury. Went 500 with Mahomes in college. Jim says, Syracuse hired a new defensive coordinator. Yes, they did. I forget his name, but yes, they did. And, you know, promoting Beck to the offensive coordinator was a smart move. Oh, Jesus, we got to talk about that. Sean Tucker is pleased with his career at Syracuse. He is opting out of the Pinstripe Bowl and is declaring himself for the NFL draft. I think Tucker will be drafted as a third-day pick. But I think Sean Tucker will get drafted. And I wish him the best of luck. It was great watching him for 2 years. And he was a big reason why this team got to a bowl game. And Chris V, you're right. The Bills should draft Tucker. I don't know about that. And Deuce Chestnut, that's a huge loss. Losing, thank you, Jim. Deuce Chestnut to the transfer portal is a huge, huge loss because he was a first-round talent. That's a major, major loss for this program. Major loss. Chris V says also, let's take a moment for a rest in peace to the great Mike Leach. If you appreciate the modern passing game and passing concepts, you have him to thank. I loved Mike Leach, and I was sad to hear that he had passed. Only 61 years old, he died of a massive heart attack. Finishes out at Mississippi State. He has more wins as an unranked team against a ranked team than any other coach in college football history, with 17, and second place is like not even near double digits. Basically invented and developed the air raid. Yep, the father of the air raid. I loved his press conferences, loved his concepts, the mad scientist. Probably his signature moment was the Michael Crabtree catch in the end zone for Texas Tech to beat Texas when Texas was number 1 in the country. That was probably his signature moment as a head coach. The air raid is one of the most modern offenses in all of football. And, I find it interesting that for a guy who really, really developed quarterbacks, he did not have more of them that made it big in the NFL. I know we had Mustache Mania with Gardner Minshew. Chris M says he never would have left Tech if it weren't for that worthless bag, Craig James. Well, Chris, to be fair, he did lock him in a shed. He locked his son in a shed. I don't even think they were doing that back in the 70s. But yes, rest in peace to the great Mike Leach, and condolences for his family. On that note, Bills at Bears, Saturday afternoon, it's a 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll probably do some type of video, but with it being Christmas Eve, I don't know. I don't know if we're actually going to go live. We may have to wait till Monday night, the 26th. For that, but I think the Bills make relatively short work of the Bears, especially if Justin Fields does not play. Say 31-3, maybe 30. You want to give the Bears a touchdown? We'll say 31-10. 31-10. I think the Bills will make quick work of the Bears, and that'll put them at 12-3 with the heavyweight fight at Cincinnati coming up on January 2nd. On that note, Chris, thank you for giving me the info there that he did not lock Austin James in a shed. But I remember that was the situation. Whether it happened or not, unfortunately, that is what cost him, was that rumor. But hopefully, this show will not be a rumor. Hopefully, you'll keep checking us out. Follow me on Twitter at Tim the Commish. Like our page on Facebook. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, check out WNYPLA.com for more. I hope if you're celebrating Hanukkah, have a happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate Christmas or Kwanzaa, have great holidays for that too. And in all sincerity, I know this can be a stressful time for a lot of families. Make sure you give yourself time to breathe, and truthfully, tell someone at home you love them, and go Bills, go Sabres, go Cuse. Tell someone at home you love them. See ya.